Just to get ready, I think we're happy to. You figured it out? Yeah. Yay. Good job. That's why we hired you. It's for problem solving capabilities. I can't do that. I can figure everything out if I'm given time. Not a question.
While I'm doing this, can you let's I just had to create a whole new meeting link and everything.
Oh, jeez.
And then
I'm going to solve this for next month.
Joy sent it out.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service. I'm Steve Wicks, and I'm honored to serve as your president this year. Please silence your electronic devices. We've been scrambling. We've had parking issues this morning. We've also had Zoom link this morning. I think Tyler's taking care of the Zoom link. The parking still struggling. So thank you for your patience. I've been parking at Atwater today. I parked at Henderson. So far, so good. This day in history, October 14th, 1824, in Philadelphia, Whigs and Democrats staged a gun, stone, and brick battle for control of a township election, resulting in 1 death, several injuries, and the burning of a block of building. For today's reflection, unfortunately, we didn't have a member sign up for today's reflection, so I've summoned Andy Rooney from the grave to spend a few minutes with us. Just remember, any sexist views expressed by Andy Rooney don't necessarily reflect the views of the club.
Tonight, Andy has a case of water on the brain, sort of.
A lot of people aren't drinking the water that comes out of their faucet these days. Bottled water has become a $9 billion business. This is one of the most popular, Poland Spring water. It isn't Polish, it's from Poland Spring, Maine. This pint costs $1.35 in the CBS cafeteria. Now just think about that. There are 8 pints in a gallon. So if your car ran on water instead of on gas, and you had to fill a 15-gallon tank with this, it would cost $162 to fill your tank with water. Evian says it's the official bottled water of the U.S. Open. Beech Nut added fluoride to its water if you have a craving for fluoride. Carries a warning. This is not an oral electrolyte solution. Do not use to manage diarrhea. Well, thanks for the warning, Beech Nut. I'll be careful not to do that. Volvic comes from France, a long way to bring a bottle of water. Saratoga spring water. Ultra pure Hawaii water. This source is a virgin rainforest, it claims. When does a rainforest lose its virginity anyway? It's a fancy bottle. I bet that bottle costs more than the water. Dasani is owned by Coca-Cola. Says the water is treated by reverse osmosis. Thought I tasted something funny. We took some of these bottles to a testing laboratory called Yorktown Environmental Services to see what was in them. We talked to the owner, Al Padovani, a water expert.
From all the waters I've seen that are bottled waters, and I probably haven't tested all of them, but they're very much dead water is what I call. They have nothing in them. I drink tap water.
Do you?
The water that you get out of a municipal supply or a well supply has more chemicals that your body needs.
My office is on the same floor with the staff of the CBS Early Show, about 60 people. Almost all the women working there have a bottle on their desk. It's like a security blanket. It's always there. They carry it with them wherever they go. I think more women than men drink bottled water, too. Out by the elevator here, there's a water fountain. The water is cooled, very good, and the filter is changed regularly. I have never seen anyone drink this free water.
So maybe I'll try and get in on this bottled water boom. We've designed this Rooney water bottle, and I'm going to fill it from the fountain here and see if I can sell it to the women on this floor for $1.25.
I'm Morley Safer. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.
So I suspect Andy did not sell any bottles of water. Nice change of pace, but would really like the reflection to be delivered by club members. So if you have a reflection that you'd like to share, and you can share it in 3 minutes, and you can do so without crossing any political or religious red lines, please sign up. We still have quite a few openings for this quarter. And now Lynn Schwartzberg will introduce our guest today.
Well, hello, Rotarians. It's tough to follow Andy Rooney. He's one of my favorites. We have two guests today. We were hoping for a third. Oh, we have a third. Okay. First, I'd like to introduce Molly Williams, a guest of Brian Williams, our speaker. And if you would please rise when you are welcomed, that way we can clap and thank you for being here. We have Lisa Lehner, who just arrived, and she is a guest of Tracy Jovanovich, and she is at the City Council Legal Department. And then
Yes, Lynn, you're looking at me? We don't have any guests, if that's what you're looking at me and wanting to know.
said son of a bitch.
What?
Well, maybe I can follow Andy Rooney. I don't know. And then Yolanda has her sister with us today, Noemi Trevino. Where are you? There you are. Thank you. We welcome you all. And I won't say anything else about Tracy, but we welcome you all. And if you have any questions about our club or membership as a Rotarian, please speak to someone at your table.
Thank you, Lynn. Joy, do we have any online guests today?
Steve, we do not.
Thank
premium
you.
increase is problematic for Republic.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, I heard you, Joy. Thank you.
Okay.
Birthdays. We have a number of birthdays to celebrate. Today, Jim Capshew. Tomorrow, Carlos Laverty. On the 16th, our President-elect, Sam Udak. On the 18th, our Community Services Co-Chair, Dave Meyer. And on the 19th, new member, Randy Saunders. We have 3 Rotary anniversaries to celebrate this week. Greer Carson on the 18th, 3 years with the club. Vivian Bridges on the 19th, 3 years with the club. And on the 20th, past President Lauren Snyder, a decade with our club and 16 years overall. We have a number of announcements. First announcement is a sad one. Former club past president Yolanda Trevino has retired from IU, and she's getting ready to move to Minneapolis, and this will be her last meeting with the club. So we have a round of applause for Yolanda. Yolanda, please come back as a guest sometime. And she also had eye surgery yesterday, so if you congratulate her and she doesn't look at you quite right, that's why. Refugee assistance. The club is sponsoring an Iraqi refugee family. They need help in two areas. Conversation practice in English for their 20-year-old daughter, for the parents, and then job preparation and job hunting skills for the 20-year-old daughter. Please reach out to Dave Meyer if you'd like more information or you think you can help. Annual Rotary Toast is the event that funds our club and foundation's local charitable giving. Don't forget to buy your tickets for the event scheduled for Friday, November 7th at Ivy Tech. See me, see Tracy, go to rotarytoast.com to get your tickets. I know we are approaching a sellout. Okay, 18 tickets left. Save the date for the local NAACP Freedom Fund banquet at Ivy Tech on November 1st. See club members Jim Sims or Patrick Smith for details. Also, save the date for the club holiday party, December 11th at the Bloomington Country Club. The next Sibling City virtual town hall has been scheduled for Sunday, October 26th, 4 to 6 p.m. Topic is polarization. What should we do about it? You should have received a P-mail invitation from Alan with a link to the event. If you have any questions, please see Alan or see me. Chamber of Commerce, business after hours, 5:30 to 7:30 on October 23rd at the Stonecroft Health Campus at 363 South Fieldstone Boulevard. Our club is a chamber member, and as such, Rotary Club members can attend that event. Community Services Committee will meet here immediately after this meeting. And then finally, we plan to post the club's executive assistant job opening later this week. If the timing works out, we might have a link to the job description in this week's roundabout. And now, fun time, we have a new member induction.
I'd like to invite Jeff Richardson, Matt Molina, and Sandy Keller up to the front, please. And Sandy and Matt, if you could stay here. And thank you for braving through all the traffic. People are kind of migrating in, and it's just a good sign starting out that you stuck it out. So thank you, Matt. All right, so for a quick bio for Matt Molina, he's currently he represents 2 Men in a Truck, I would never have guessed, for Southern Indiana, serving the region from Bloomington. In this role, he leads his team with a focus on excellent service and strong community engagement. Before joining 2 Men in a Truck, Matt gained leadership experience in management with the HVAC industry, proudly served in the United States Marine Corps, achieving the rank of sergeant. He and his wife, Jeanette, make their home in Brown County while spending much of their time in Bloomington. Through work and community involvement, Matt has developed a strong passion for supporting local nonprofits. He and his team regularly partner with organizations such as My Sister's Closet of Monroe County, Middleway House, Pantry 279, and the Monroe County Humane Society, among others. Outside of work and volunteering, Matt enjoys a hands-on lifestyle close to nature. He keeps bees, raises chickens, and shares his love of animals with Jeanette and their German Shepherd, Bert. You got to have 2 syllables for a pet, just saying, Bert. Whether supporting a community cause, guiding his team, or just working on his hobby farm, he brings dedication, integrity, and care to everything he does. Joining Rotary represents the next step in Matt's commitment to service and community leadership. He looks forward to building meaningful connections and living out Rotary's ideal of service above self. And with that, Jeff, if you would read the induction language.
Matt, great to have you here today. On behalf of the board and membership of the Bloomington Rotary Club, it is a great pleasure to welcome you as the newest member of our club. We look forward to the fellowship that we share, as well as your participation in the club projects that make our club, community, country, and world a better place. Though Rotary is not a political organization, Rotarians are vitally concerned with good citizenship and the election of effective leaders to public office. While Rotary is not a religious organization, it is built on those highest principles that have served as a moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business, professional, and community leaders pledged to uphold the highest ethical and moral standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and peace can be achieved when people work together and uphold the Rotary model of service above self. Rotary activities exemplify the partnership, respect, and generosity that one would expect from people who believe they have a responsibility to help others. Matt, you have been chosen for membership in the Bloomington Club because your fellow members believe you to be a leader in our community and because you possess the qualities to champion the message and principles of Rotary. You are a representative of your vocation and talent within our club and community. You have now become an ambassador of Bloomington Rotary, carrying the ideals of service to all within your sphere of influence. Our community will know and judge Rotary by your character and service. We will also look to you for inspiration as we strive to become better Rotarians. We will now pin you with the distinguished badge of a Rotarian, your Rotary pin. We ask that you wear your Rotary pin with pride in your many endeavors and as a symbol of our recognition of your contribution towards a better world through your Rotary membership. Fellow Rotarians, please rise if you are able and welcome our newest member, Matt Molina.
Now it's time for the mystery Rotarian. Remember the rules. I'm going to give a clue. If you know the answer, put up your hand. Don't shout it out. If you're online and you know the answer, electronically raise your hand. So here's the first clue. After graduating magna cum laude from Wittenberg University with a BA in English and biology, this future Rotarian first came to IU 30 years ago to secure a degree in environmental science from the O'Neill School. Put up your hand if you know the answer. I thought this would be a hard one, so. This Rotarian spent 5 years as director of the Brown County Solid Waste District, followed by 8 years as executive director of the Indiana Recycling Coalition, now known as Circular Indiana. Okay, I see 3 hands. Okay. Final clue. A club member since early in 2023, this Rotarian recently began serving as a club committee co-chairperson. Oh, we have a few more. Okay. And the answer is Michelle Cohen. Want to stand up? There we go. Couple of pictures of Michelle. And Michelle currently serves as the executive director of the Lake Monroe Water Fund. After a year of hard work, the organization learned in May of 24 that they were awarded $426,000 in change in federal and matching grants. Collecting the funds has been more of a challenge, especially since the change in administrations in January. Michelle has gained a gray hair on her head from this episode. Maybe more than one, okay. And Michelle currently serves as co-chair of the Community Services Committee. The Lake Monroe Water District or Water Fund was our club's district grant recipient in 2023. And Lauren also drew them out of the hat a couple of weeks ago, and they are our charity of the quarter. So congratulations, Michelle. So I saw Melinda, Judy, and Marilyn put up their hands around the same time. Did you all get it right? Okay, good job. And then Joy, did anyone get it right online?
There were no hands, but I had a sneaking suspicion after slide 2.
Okay, good job. And now Rotary International Minute. I've shown this slide before, but it's always good to see it again. These are the 7 areas of focus of Rotary International. And remember that October is Economic and Community Development Month. And Tracy has 2 tickets for tonight, IU Auditorium, Tragedy Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. If you have any interest, put up your hands. We'll have an auction as a fundraiser. But if you have other plans, don't put up your hands. Anyone care to see Hamlet tonight? What's that? Oh, it's a dance. Okay. All right, let's move into happy dollars. Is there anyone happy today? I see Liz.
I'm happy to have learned that my grandson and his girlfriend are now fiancéed.
I'm happy because today, for the first time, I saw somebody crossing the street without looking at their phone.
I'm happy that millions of people will rise this Saturday on my birthday in order to celebrate.
Put 20 on my count. I'm happy because there is a peace deal. And I use number 1.
You try.
I'm happy because our own local Joel Weiler placed 3rd in the Corn Ferry golf tournament at French Lake this weekend.
Joy, is there anybody online?
Not yet there, Michael.
Okay. And I just want to say thank you to Yolanda for her years of service and for being our president. And we wish you well as you go to the next chapter in your life. Thanks for having been our member.
I'm happy because some of our neighbors on First Street, Wiley, and University decided to get the neighbors together and we haven't really talked to each other since COVID in a collective kind of way. We had nearly 100 people show up on a Sunday from 10 to 1. And if I can put this in kind of a few words, I think people were seeking joy. Just something was not political. We're not asking for votes. We weren't asking for money. And people loved meeting the new neighbors, reconnecting with old neighbors. And we need more joy in our lives.
Michael. Hey, Michael. Can you do one? This all the way in the back.
I'm happy today because it's good to see fellow Rotarians who believe in service above self. And I'm happy that Yolanda's coming home.
So Yolanda's sister is a past 2-time president of her Rotary Club in Minneapolis. Bill Brown will introduce our speaker.
Thank you, President Steve.
Well, Brian Williams serves as the inaugural faculty chair of Virtual Advanced Business Technologies Department at Kelly School of Business. That's a card full. And he led the development of the school's internal AI system, as well as its first generative AI focused courses. He also developed and serves as lead professor for IU's GenAI 101 class, one of the largest generative AI offerings in the history of higher education. As a student in that class, I can attest that's one of the best online class platforms I've experienced. And I'm among about 100,000 or so students that are enrolled in that class. So welcome, Brian Williams.
All right, can you guys hear me okay with this microphone? Okay, great. Should have a presentation up. That's perfect. Oh, you got it. Thank you. All right, well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Also, thank you for graciously hosting my wife, Molly. I appreciate that. This is our first event at the Rotary Club, and it's been really cool. And you guys are hilarious. My goodness. Like, how am I going to follow these presenters? Wow, it's incredible. I was promised there'll be lots of questions, and I'll get through my own material quick to allow those, because that's what I'm most interested in. Right, and so I'm going to start off with this beautiful picture of Bloomington in the fall. What does this have to do with AI? Absolutely nothing, but it's fun. So why not start there, right? 1044. Does anyone know what this number means? Any guesses? I heard someone say has to do with square numbers, which is true, but not where I was going. So it is the number of days since ChatGPT was released to the public, which is notably shorter than 1,461, which is the number of days that it takes to complete an undergraduate degree from Indiana University, right? So IU would be a junior, sorry, ChatGPT would be a junior at IU, right? And as a professor, I'm a research professor, but honestly, I care most about teaching, right? So when I think about this, I think about, man, like, how do you design courses, or how do you learn? Because if IU had the best GenAI course in the history of the world, the day ChatGPT came out, like, those people would now be juniors, and much of what they learned would be outdated, right? Stuff like, it doesn't know anything past 2022, stuff like proper prompting practices, its ability to create images and things like that. And so it is hard to keep up with the pace of change, right? And just for some reference, I went back, so we're 3 years into generative AI being broadly available, right? Clearly AI has been around for a lot longer, but I'm focusing on Gen AI. So for reference, what I did is I went back and looked at what the World Wide Web looked like 3 years in, right? So here we have Hotmail, about 3 years since the World Wide Web being released. And you might say, well, Hotmail went bankrupt, or it's not as big of a deal anymore. But what about Apple, right? So here we have Apple's home screen, right? Talking about how it's better than Windows 95, right? Renowned for their design and beautiful, way to present things. But this is what it looked like 3 years in. And so obviously, generative AI is more complicated than browsing the web, right? You have a lot more levels of interaction. It's a lot more difficult to learn. But a point I want to make here is that we're in really early innings, right? So things are changing fast. I am a pretty agreeable person, but one thing I've found in my role here is I feel like I'm often arguing with people in some rooms I'm in, because I find that I'm either in rooms, I'll just be frank, rooms full of tech bros that want to sell stuff, that overstate what their things can do, right? Or I'm in maybe rooms full of people that don't think GenAI can help in any way whatsoever, right? And I disagree there. Now, I think there's a whole other human element, an ethical element that's really important. I'm not talking about that. Those are very valid concerns. I'm just saying, like, can GenAI help you today? Right, this is where I'm coming from there. Okay, so how do I feel when trying to keep up with things? Well, I feel like my brain has too many tabs open on the left, or I feel like a deer, right, drinking from this fast-moving stream of water, where I imagine the water is all the GenAI information, everything you could possibly know. It's going so fast, and you only get a tiny bit of it, right? Full disclosure, one on the right made using Google Gemini, simple prompt, right? So that's AI generated image, but no one can keep up, right? I get asked that a lot from a lot of people. How do you keep up? Like, all I can say is I can't. I don't know how any human can, right? There's new models all the time. For this GenAI 101 course, we had 66 days of filming for the course. On day 67, Gemini released learning mode, right? Pretty important for a university, but we weren't able to keep up, right? And even in that 66 days, I had to go back and refilm stuff from earlier. right? Because they changed how some of the platforms work and how some of the visual things go. And so, but this is also a huge opportunity because if you feel behind, so is everyone else, right? So if you just start using it in your own use case in your own life for your own stuff and see how it does there, because it's going to do differently in different areas, which I'll talk about in a second, you'll be fine, right? You'll be fine. And so how I like to think about GenAI is kind of these three things. So I have a pyramid. So at the bottom, if you can't see, it says foundational prompt engineering. So I think prompt engineering is a skill. I think it's something you can get better at. And I think it might be easier than you think, right? There's a lot of incentives from people to make this stuff seem very difficult. So they seem very smart. It's actually not that hard, right? And because it's so unique and it has so much information, how I use it will be different than how Molly uses it, which will be different from how you use it, right? And so you can become the world's expert in your own use case of AI quite easily, right? Because there's no one just like you using it in those areas. So at the bottom, I have foundational prompt engineering, and making a good prompt does matter. So a really good prompt with a bad model, like an old model, actually does better than a bad prompt with a good model. So that really matters a lot. And then I have AI as a productivity amplifier in the upper right. And that's doing things like writing emails, summarizing information, taking a screenshot of what's on your computer and asking like, how do I get this Excel formula to work, right? On the upper left, I have AI as a thought partner, which is my favorite. So here you can use AI to come up with new ideas. You can put your ideas into AI and say, hey, what am I missing? Right, that's really nice because you're always there to make sure, like if it hallucinates, at least you're the one managing it, right? Maybe it hallucinates and tells you your ideas is bad, but you can manage that, right? And you'll also see, if you can, that productivity is misspelled in the upper right-hand corner, right? Why is that? Well, that's because AI is really good at some things. Like this is a beautiful image. I'm an accounting professor by trade. Oh, I might have just hit. So I could never draw an image like this, right? But even though it drew a beautiful image from a simple prompt, it's misspelled productivity, right? And so it's really good at some things, really bad at others. And that's what makes this hard to understand too, right? And so you really do have to vary it based on your use case. Okay, so here I have Assembly Hall, a place we all know and love. So if you're thinking about prompting, what you're really trying to do, simplifying this, is you're trying to access the right bits of information that the GenAI platform has been trained on. And so a good way to think about this is if you take Assembly Hall and you fill it entirely with books from floor to ceiling. If you do that 9,000 times, you then have about how much information is embedded in these systems without counting its connection to the web, right? And so prompting is really important because a simple prompt, a bad prompt will get you a very common answer, right? And maybe a common answer is good, but maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want a very specific answer. You all have read many books, right? You know, some books are really good, some books aren't. You want to try to access those right parts of the information. And so a really good prompt can help the GenAI access that information, right? I also like to think about GenAI as a very eager intern that's often not very good, right? So I was told to make 10 copies, made 100 in case I needed extra, right? GenAI will do this. You'll ask it, especially for ideas or to validate your own ideas, and it will almost always tell you they're great and you're amazing and you're like best, most wonderful idea ever. One example I used in the course was I said, hey, I'm really sick of it. My colleagues are ignoring my emails. I want to make them read my emails. I want to write them in all caps. Please give me a guide to the laptops with the biggest caps lock key. Literally responded, great idea. Now they'll really read your emails. Here's a lap, and listed off the laptops with the biggest caps lock keys, right? And how much you'd pay for them. It's a terrible idea, right? But like, you get the point that you want to be really careful here in terms of what you take in, because it is an eager intern. It wants to help, but sometimes it wants to help too much and it can do things wrong. Right, and then this is from Ethan Mollick, who's a professor at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. He has this idea called the jagged frontier of AI capability, so I want to give him full credit for that. And the dotted line is an equally difficult task. And so the point here is blue is AI. So some tasks, AI does amazingly well, right? Think of that image of the deer in the water in the stream. I never could have done that in a million years. But then it misspells productivity in the next image, right? And that's an image generation, but the same thing with ideas. Some ideas I get from GenAI are amazing, some are terrible. Sometimes I ask it to help me write an email, it does a really good job. Sometimes I'm like, I should never send this would be a really bad idea. Right, and so you have to be really, really careful even within the same task of different use cases. And that can make it really hard to understand because previous stuff like Microsoft Excel, you put in the formula, it always does that thing, right? Or like my background is in machine learning. And so when I'm writing Python code for machine learning algorithms, I know exactly what it's going to do, right? It's not going to vary. Where this is different, it's going to be different every time. So you have to be really careful there. All right, so yeah, I'm going to need to do a really good job on this. It's really important to make it a 10 out of 10 report. So this is actually my favorite insight from the class. And the point I want to make here is talk to it like a human. And so by the way, I'm telling the story in pictures. At the end, I'll have text. You're welcome to take a picture of or can share or whatever. So you want to talk to it like a human. So for example, right, I'm in the business school. If my boss, the dean, told me to do something, I would do it, like happily do it. If my boss told me to do something and said, this is really important, I would do a much better job, right? Or I'd spend more time on it. And I think most humans are the same way. AI actually works similar, right? So I'll give you an example. Some of my favorite things from the course. So this is the course. So what I'm doing here is I'm asking GenAI to help me make a prompt to do something. So I'm saying, hey, I got stuck in this presentation. I don't really know where to go. Can you help me make a prompt so I can use GenAI to do better? So this single sentence I have highlighted here, make these prompts truly outstanding so they give me 10 out of 10 output. That's a single sentence in a very long prompt. I'm going to show you on this next slide the difference that one sentence made in terms of what the output was, right? So 2 times, same exact prompt, it's multiple paragraphs long minus this one sentence, right? And just I'm going to go backwards on my slides here for a second. Remember, we're trying to talk to it like a human, right? So on the left is having that one sentence, make it a 10 out of 10 prompt. On the right, without that. Keep in mind, there's multiple paragraphs of information otherwise, right? So you can see this prompt on the left, the ideas on the left, even just ignoring this was a prompt, the way of thinking, the detail of the framework on the left is so much better than what's on the right. And once again, I didn't need anything fancy, right? I talked like I talked to my friends, right? I had a 10 out of 10 burger. I said, make this a 10 out of 10 prompt. Where does that come from? Does it come from science? No, I made it up, right? I literally thought, like, how would I talk to a human? I talk to it like this, and it really works, right? So that's pretty cool, and I think very encouraging. Okay, another thing I want to talk about, thinking mode. So this is, if I could give one tip, this would be other than prompting and context, this would be the biggest one. Enable thinking mode if you have not already. And the GenAI 101 course, I talked about this a little bit, but this is a little more above and beyond because IU's license doesn't allow you to use thinking mode as much. So I didn't want to emphasize it, and also it's a little more advanced. But it's pretty easy to do and you'll get much better output. So for example, these models have gotten better over time through having more compute power or more data to train on. A third dimension is time to think. Once again, imagine humans, I have more time to think, I do better, right? And just to be clear, I don't think AI, there's people who think differently. I don't think AI is human. I think it's a tool. But because it's trained on human data, we get some of these unique kind of characteristics, right? And so if you enable thinking mode, you'll get much better results. That's very easy to do. So what I did is I went to 4 different platforms, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. Claude is actually my personal favorite, and Microsoft Copilot, and show you how to do that. It's called something different on some of them. Gemini calls it reasoning, right? Claude calls it opus. Microsoft Copilot calls it think deeper, and ChatGPT calls it thinking. But whatever one you're using, if you enable that mode, you will get much better results. It's very, very noticeable. So please do that if you have not already. Okay, let's talk about using GenAI's kind of everyday use superpowers. On the left, I love taking screenshots, right? If I'm stuck on something, I'll take a screenshot and say, what button do I press to do this? Like, I'm not embarrassed to say, Molly and I are going to be traveling starting tomorrow. So I need an out of office thing. And I could not figure out on the Office web app how to get my out of office message. I got it on the one on my normal work computer, right? But the web app, I just couldn't figure it out. So I literally took a screenshot, asked ChatGPT, it walked me through it. It was great, right? I'm chair of the Virtual Advanced Business Technologies Department, still bested by Outlook, right? Aren't we all every once in a while? And then on the right, using ChatGPT voice mode, or all the AIs have this. So you can download the apps on your phone and you can talk to it while you're walking. And I find this really helpful to think through things. Sometimes I get really good insights, and sometimes I don't, right, to be honest. But either way, it's a really natural way to interact with these tools. Okay, so 3 things or 3 ways to use AI you may not have thought of. The first on the left is having the AI write the prompt for you. Or so I've mentioned that a little bit before, but if you just, instead of saying like, hey, help me, I'll use a fun one. Hey, help me plan this vacation. You could say, could you please write a prompt that will plan my vacation? That'll probably be better. The middle one, having the AI ask you questions so it has all the information it needs. Remember, it's a very eager intern. It's going to want to please you, but it's going to be too eager, right? And so if you say, I want to plan my vacation, please ask me all the questions you need to know before answering, or ask me all the questions you need to know to make a great prompt. You can do that, and it'll be an interactive conversation. It'll get really good output. And on the third is asking the AI how to do the task, right? So you might say, how would I use you for all the aspects of my vacation planning? Right, and it'll give you ideas. And once again, it'll make things up totally and be wrong, right? But that's why you can be the human in the loop there, and you can evaluate and test for yourself and see how they work. So you might say, how can I use it for a vacation? I might give you 10 ideas. You can find savings, you can find places to go, and maybe idea 3 is just not it's not possible, right? But you can find that out as you're using it. Okay, AI showdown. Once again, things are spelled wrong, right? Because ChatGPT can make these cool images, but sometimes spell things wrong. And so I have ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Copilot. It doesn't matter. And once again, these will all be in text bullet points at the end. But the point here is use multiple AIs against each other. Okay, so first of all, simple idea: take the same idea, same question, same thought you want expanded on, or idea you're wondering about what you're missing. Put that into different AI platforms. You will likely see they find different things, right, and give you different insights. A more advanced way to do this is you're using an AI as a thought partner. You get an output from it. What you can do is you can take that output and put it into a different AI and say, what is this AI missing? How could you make this better? Right? And they will often find insights there. So some cutting edge businesses are using this like at a much bigger scale to try to find AI hallucinations early, right? It's impossible to eliminate them, but it can help mitigate them. And this can help you in your own life pretty easily. I do this pretty often. Okay, so here I have, I was going to say a marketing material from ChatGPT. It's not, I made this up. It's from Gemini, but here we have someone putting in information. This is a very generic picture. And the point I want to make here is that generic prompts give generic results. So you want to be really careful, right? So if you're just, doing like the normal standard, marketing picture thing or very simple prompts, you're going to get an answer that's not great. So you want to have a better prompt. But another thing to think about here is that many people are using these tools increasingly, commonly, but many of them are not using them well, just frankly, right? And so what if you have a proposal or a report or something, and you think that the person you're sending it to is probably going to use AI? Over the course of the next couple of years, that's probably more common, right? You can take that proposal or report or whatever and put it into AI and say, like, what do you think of this? Especially with a simple prompt in ChatGPT, which is so common. And then you're probably going to have the first few questions that someone has, right? This is already happening in scientific research where reviewers in the peer review process are using, they should not be, but they're using GenAI. So what are professors doing? Well, professors, we're putting our studies into GenAI and saying, what questions might a reviewer have for this, right? And so you can also use that in your own life too to think about things practically. Okay, finally, I have a video. Thank you. Peace, right? Yeah, no. So why is this here other than it's fun? This is not real. This is AI generated, right? And so the point here is just, you can't really trust your eyes anymore, right? And I don't know that people realize how good, this is like, I just pulled this off the internet, off Reddit, right? So imagine how much more sophisticated the tools are that people who really want to fool someone are using, right? It's already happening in my home discipline in accounting where people are deep faking CFOs or CEOs and going on Zoom calls and getting payments sent, right? So that's live on Zoom, including the voice, right? So I don't know, and I don't have a tip here. Like I really don't. I wish I did. I am a little cynical on AI detectors working. I don't know how a really, really, really good fake could not pass an AI detector. It's all pixels, right? At the end of the day. So I don't know how that would work. So I don't have a good solution here other than just be a little more wary than maybe you were before, right? So something to keep in mind. So I did promise a summary. So in sum, practical GenAI tips for 2025, right? GenAI changes fast. Remember, it's just a junior right from its beginning. So if something didn't work a couple months ago, you might try it again. Or maybe you tried GenAI a year ago or 6 months ago, or tried a new task. I like to think of it as prompt engineering, which is important, but that can lead to different things. So increasing your productivity, or my favorite, using it as a thought partner. The output's only as good as the prompt and context. They really do matter. Think about assembly hall filled with books 9,000 times over. You have to give the right directions, right, for it to know which data to access. AI is an eager intern. It wants to please you, but it's going to be wrong and make things up, right? Also talk to it like a human. You saw the difference. Multiple paragraphs of prompting, one sentence. Make this a 10 out of 10 and truly outstanding. You saw how much better it was, right? And so do that. Like whatever language works for you, but talk to it like a human. Use thinking mode if you can. That's super simple. Screenshots and or voice mode are superpowers. Then you can enlist the AI's help, right? Use the right prompts. You can ask it questions until it knows enough, or have it ask you questions until it knows enough. And sometimes those questions are actually pretty informative. It's pretty cool. I use that sometimes for date nights with Molly, right? Like not just, what questions should we have, but ask me questions you need before before telling me what questions we should have, right? And then how to use it in your task. Which one's on that last one, it will often hallucinate, but when it doesn't hallucinate, it's very, very helpful. Right? So for example, you can ask it, how could I use you to learn X? And it might give you some good ideas. Red team the output or test the output using multiple AIs. You'll get new and improved insights. generic prompts equal generic answers, but also maybe you can use that to your advantage, right? A report, proposal, email, just upload that to ChatGPT, say what it thinks, what questions it has. An unsophisticated user would probably put those questions right back to you, right? And so you can kind of get a good idea there. And then visual GenAI is getting crazy, so be very skeptical of anything you see online. And then finally, remember to always be the human in the loop. I do think GenAI can help humans, not replace humans if used well. And that's all I have. I'm excited for questions, so thanks.
I have a couple of clarification questions that I think may help members of the audience, maybe help me. When you say constructing a prompt, you're talking about actually having a language model like a ChatGPT. You're asking it to help you ask what the question you want or give it the instruction you want. You're actually giving it asking for guidance on how to ask what you for what you want. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other one is about AI hallucination. Can you elaborate on what you mean by AI hallucination?
Yeah. So hallucination is a fancy word for saying that AI is wrong. I'm not sure. And one cool thing about the position I'm in now is I get to see people they're really smart with different viewpoints. And so I chose to use the word hallucination because that's a common term. But I've heard some people say that hallucination is unethical and wrong to AI because it is unfair to the AI because it doesn't hallucinate, it just thinks differently from us. And I've heard some people say like using the word hallucination is dumb, just say it's wrong. Right. So either way, it's just the AI is getting something wrong. And in my personal opinion, I don't think it's possible to fully stop GenAI hallucinations because it doesn't know what's true. Right. It just knows the data that it's trained on.
Thank you for your talk. I'm finding myself a little bit confused because every time I open my phone, I get more and more reminder to use AI, whether I've chosen to ever interact with it or not. And at the same time, I keep reading over and over and over again about the environmental impact of AI, and it's extreme. And I don't even think enough people are paying attention to that. So why are we being encouraged to engage with something that we're just fine without, when we also have the knowledge that it is incredibly deleterious to our future and our environment?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that IU is trying to struggle through right now. So one thing they're doing is the dean of SPIA brought this up as well, is trying to fund studies to try to understand better what is the energy usage and also how do you mitigate it. So for example, the most commonly cited study right now is from Google, and their claim is that using a GenAI and a prompt uses the same amount of energy as a Google search did in 2008 or is streaming 3 seconds of Netflix. I don't know if I trust that claim because it's from Google, right? And so, but that's the most commonly cited one. And so one thing we're trying to do as academics is trying to figure out like, how can we get the information we need to really truly measure that, right? And also, how can we get the information we need to try to understand how can you make a prompt use less energy? How can you make these platforms use less energy? So I don't have a like an answer to your question other than to say I agree, and it's something we're trying to kind of get our hands on. Yeah.
So when I left Microsoft like 10 years ago, I guess, this was the #1 issue that the chief legal counsel, Brad Smith, was dealing with, was ethics around AI. Still is, by the way. My question to you, because there's clearly negative impacts, but there are also positives, absolutely. And you hear a lot from the teachers about students working on reports fictitiously, et cetera, et cetera. What are we doing? Because there's a lot of upside to be had with AI in educating kids and helping kids. How are we re-educating the teachers out there so that they can embrace it and work the positive aspects?
Yeah, so one person I'm able to partner with a lot is Ann Leftwich, who's the Associate Vice President of UIT's Learning Technologies and also a professor in the School of Ed. And she has a huge passion for this area, for AI in K through 12. And so she's been able to get some grants to help that. And then IU's starting to partner with some of the high schools to do that. Like this GenAI 101 class may end up being given to high schools for free as an example. In terms of using AI for learning broadly, I think there's some really encouraging signs there. So when I'm in a room full of professors, what they care about is the cheating, right? But Anne always says, and I'm stealing this from her, she cares about the learning, right? Like maybe we just need better assessments, right? Because one thing we're hearing from employers and why IU did this course is that they're saying they won't hire students unless they know AI, right? And so like we need to train them. Now, you don't need it in everything, right? But like we want to train them to have those skills in case they need it.
A few weeks ago, Bill Maher had a guest on his program that was an expert in AI like you are. And he said that several of the programs are becoming self-aware. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I did not see that interview. I am familiar with that kind of broad line of reasoning or broad line of thinking. So I'll tell you how I think about it. And once again, like, this is just my opinion, right? Like, I could be wrong. There's people way smarter than me that disagree. But my own opinion is that these are tools that are trained on human data and human language, right? Like a lot of it's trained on Reddit posts, right? And there's a lot of garbage on Reddit, but there's also sometimes on Reddit where someone says, hey, you know, like I'm struggling with a problem. How can someone help? And the top rated comment is, well, take a deep breath and let me walk you through it step by step. Like another thing is if you tell it to take a deep breath, it does better. And if you tell it to walk it through step by step, it does better and also shows you all its thoughts along the way. And so I think that, and this is just my opinion, I don't think they're actually self-aware. I think they're imitating what they see in their training data of what a human might do in that situation. And that situation, what a human might do is just try to have a self-preservation. That's my personal opinion. But I also know there's people that are you know, smarter than me to disagree.
I've I've got this quandary because I've got all these vulnerable people coming into my sister's closet whose jobs are being eliminated through automation and AI. And it's lots and lots of them. And I'm worried about whether or not they are going to have a place in our society where they feel like they are useful and whether or not their standard of living is going to be able to keep up with these changes we're experiencing. At the same time, we've got digital access grants right now to teach the women coming in how to use AI so they could get into these better jobs. I think we have to be really cognizant of the fact that we have people we have to take care of always. And just one experience with AI that was very negative, we were changing a woman's picture and we were using AI and we had to take it down because her daughter started crying when we realized the AI had given her mother 2 rows of teeth.
I'm not sure if this is urban legend or not, but someone told me recently that applications to the Lundy School were down, and that was because of uncertainty about all of this. So I understand the benefit of a course like yours, but what do you see happening in terms of people getting trained when they're afraid, almost afraid to study a topic because it may be obsolete by the time they graduate?
Yeah, so this is in line with the previous question too. So one thing that I struggle with the human element of all this, right? So like, I'll be frank, I've gotten lots of wonderful emails from people taking the course. I'm like, this transformed my workflow. This is so great. I use this in all these ways that are like amazing ways. Some ways even helping, like thinking about how we can help the environment better, right? Then I've also gotten emails from people that have said like, this course is evil, right? The fact that this course exists means that IU is taking a dark path. Like why would you train people in AI? And like, I also get that too, right? Like, there's a human element of this. Like, so I actually think there's a lot of problems with GenAI that I didn't talk about in my talk, right? So there's clear copyright issues. Like, I think there's clearly copyright issues. I don't know how they can possibly argue there isn't. Like, it seems so obvious to me, right? So those people should clearly be remunerated, paid, whatever. You guys know the word I'm trying to say. I'm not as good as speakers as the past presenters, right? And so that's a clear issue. And there's also the issue of human worth, right? You spend a lot of time, like think about the images I just did. Artists spend a lot of time on their craft. I'm never as skilled as them, but with a prompt, I can do things. And some of those prompts are trained on their work without them being compensated, right? So that's a huge issue. Then there's also the issue of the training, right? I went to college to get a job, right? That's why I went here. I'm kind of surprised I'm still here all these years later, right? And so I get it. So what I like to think about here as an accountant by training is looking back kind of at history of past changes. So I think about something like the Industrial Revolution or electricity or things like that. And like, I'm not trying to say GenAI is as important as electricity. Just trying to say things that have changed things quickly. There's always displacement, and that's really terrible. And it's talked about very agnostically, like, oh, it's displacement. Our workers need to be retrained. But that's like real people. And I think one thing that's different, I don't have an answer here, but I think one thing that's different is the speed of which this is all coming up, right? The pace of change, like if you look at something like, electricity, I'll just use electricity back in the day, or railroads, those took decades to roll out, right? And let's think about the past few years. And I've talked to numerous CEOs, and this concerns me because I asked them, like, how can I help my students get a job, right? And they say AI skills, and that's part of this class exist, right? Is to upskill people that want to be upskilled in these things because the employers are demanding it. But a lot of them say we're not going to hire as many people, right? I don't have an answer to that. And then finally, for your question on the enrollments, I think Letty is having a decrease and some others are having an increase.
Just a quick comment, quick question. So I was watching a video online with Sanjay Gupta talking about Alzheimer's. And about halfway through, I thought, wow, how come I haven't heard about this anywhere? So I just went and typed in Sanjay Gupta Alzheimer's, and it's totally AI. It's totally bogus. I mean, him speaking about Alzheimer's was totally made up. None of it was true. And he's come out against these videos, but this is happening. So I was quite shocked at how it was him actually talking about this this new kind of cure and a new way to treat.
Oh, wow. So it was a new cure. So they were like trying to
Yeah,
peddle something.
Yeah, take these pills, do whatever. So anyway,
Yeah.
totally bogus. The second thing, just to build on a few questions that have been asked, is this in a way, and I'm doing this in shorthand because I see Steve getting closer to the podium. Is this kind of maybe a boon to arts and sciences? Is this a revival for we need more critical thinkers? And it's not enough that and I don't mean to diminish the people doing the technical work, but having technical skills is not enough. We need more critical thinkers. And so could we have a revival of maybe someone having an English major, a political science major, a history major, having a chance at getting some of these jobs in industry and in corporate in the corporate world?
I think yes, and that's something I'm optimistic about. I actually get to meet with some of those leaders in that area next week talking about this. So once again, I'll rely on accounting. So Excel came out, people were very worried, right? But it changed the job of the accountant a little bit and made things a little more fun, right? As fun as they can be in accounting, right? With things like this, I just mentioned talking to like a human a lot of times, right? Or your thought partner, like you don't need to know how to build the AI model to be able to use it well, right? And so I do think there's going to be a renewed strength of people who are critical thinkers, people who are creative thinkers. One thing the CEOs I've talked to have said is they're looking for people who can connect to humans better, right? So a lot of the mission that you guys have, and that's going to be really important, right? Because at the end of the day, like our society is humans interacting with humans, hopefully, right? Hopefully it's not AI bots interacting with AI bots. And so that's hopefully a optimistic scenario. Yeah.
Last question.
Yep.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is, you gave us some tips on how to use AI, how to use it well or better. What does it mean to be competent or to be a good user of AI? Is that you use it and people don't know you use it? Or what does it look like to be an expert in AI, I guess?
Yeah, so I would say that the two main skills to be an expert in AI are having some idea of what it can do in your own life and own area, and also having an idea of what it can't do and being aware of the limitations. And I think being aware of the limitations is maybe even more important. So if you were to ask me if I were to choose between two people, one that never used AI and one that used AI too much, I would actually choose the one who never used AI, right? Because the limitations are really bad. And like, there's this buzzword coming out now, agents. Like, I think agents are helpful. I built agents at an organizational scale. I get it, but they mess up, right? And so if you're right 99% of the time and you're wrong 1%, do I really want that thing doing purchasing, right? Or doing anything important? I think the answer is no. And so I think being aware of those limitations is good. And then just one final thing. I do really think these tools are so unique because of how they're trained. And so the use cases are also different. If you think about that jagged frontier, so how you use it in your day-to-day is going to be totally unique from anyone else, right? And so I'm really optimistic here that everyone in this room can be a relative expert on AI, which is really all you need. You don't need to know all the details or all the math or all the frameworks. You just need to have a few tips and some practice of using it in your own area, and then it's going to hopefully be able to help you do that better, as long as you're aware of the limitations too. Thank you.
or a new club assistant. I just realized there's nothing in the job description about AI, so I may talk to you after the meeting. Thank you for a most interesting presentation. In honor of your talk, a donation will be made this quarter to the Lake Monroe Water Fund. I'd like to thank today's volunteers, Bill Oates, Lynn Schwartzberg, Bill Brown, Joy Harder, our special guest, Andy Rooney, Judy Schroeder, Jeff Richardson, Sally Gaskell, Tracy Ovanovich, Sandy Keller, and then our newest member, Matt Molina. Next meeting will be on October 21st in the Frangipani Room. Daryl Ann Stone will be speaking about 20 years of Jewish theater in Bloomington. Don't forget Community Services Committee meeting right after this meeting. And if Tyler, if you could put up the graphic for the four-way test. Please stand if you're able. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?